Aline Carter had planned more than 200 weddings. She could tell what kind of flowers a bride would choose just by her shoes. She knew the exact shade of sunset that photographers adored. Love, to her, was a checklist, not a miracle. She hadn't believed in it since her own fiancé walked away 3 days before their ceremony. Since then, she had mastered the art of smiling for others. When Veronica Lane, a charming heiress, came to Aline's agency, the project seemed simple: a luxurious vineyard wedding, a guest list full of celebrities, and a perfect couple. Until Aline met the groom, Mark Reynolds. He was nothing like his fiancée: warm eyes, unpolished charm, a laugh that felt like summer rain. And when he shook Aline's hand, something in her, something long buried, stirred. "You make weddings for people who already have everything," he said one afternoon, "but do you ever make one for yourself?" Aline smiled politely. "No need. My calendar's full." But his words followed her like music she couldn't turn off. As the wedding drew closer, she spent long hours with him, tasting cakes, choosing lights, fixing schedules, and every time she looked at him, it became harder to breathe. Mark asked questions no one else did: why she avoided love stories, why her eyes turned distant when someone said, "forever." She told herself it was just part of her job: caring, listening, helping. But the way his hand brushed hers said otherwise. A week before the wedding, Aline overheard a conversation between Veronica and her friend. "Mark's family owns half of the company. I just need the name, then I'm done." Aline froze. Her heart pounded, not for the betrayal, but for the choice she suddenly faced: tell him, and destroy the wedding, or stay silent and destroy herself. The day of the ceremony arrived. Everything looked perfect: the golden arch, the roses, the music. But Aline couldn't breathe. When Mark turned to her before walking down the aisle, he whispered, "Funny thing, you're the only one who looks more nervous than the bride." Tears filled her eyes before she could stop them. "Because," she said softly, "some weddings aren't meant to happen." He didn't understand, not yet. But as the vows began, he looked into Veronica's eyes, and saw nothing. Then he looked at Aline, and everything made sense. 2 months later, Aline sat in the same vineyard, alone this time, sketching plans for another client. Footsteps approached. She didn't have to look up to know who it was. "Still planning other people's happy endings?" Mark asked with a smile. She looked up. "Maybe not this time." He sat down beside her, the late summer breeze tugging gently at his hair. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The vineyard stretched before them, endless rows of vines glowing gold in the fading light, the same light that once framed a wedding that never happened. "I didn't think you'd come back here," Aline said quietly, her pencil hovering above the page. Mark chuckled softly. "I wasn't planning to. But then I realized. I left something behind." She tried to smile, though her heart was beating too fast. "Your pride?" He shook his head. "No. A reason." Aline looked away, pretending to adjust her papers. "You should hate me," she whispered. "I ruined your wedding." "You saved me," he said simply. "You told the truth when no one else would." "That's not ruining anything, that's starting over." Her throat tightened. "I don't know how to start over, Mark. I only know how to fix things for other people." He leaned closer, his voice barely above the rustle of the vines. "Then let me be your first client." She finally looked at him, really looked. The man who'd once been someone else's future now sat before her, unguarded, waiting. No plans. No lists. Just a quiet, steady hope. Aline's fingers trembled as she closed her sketchbook. "And what kind of wedding are you hiring me for?" He smiled, that same warm, unpolished smile that had undone her months ago. "The kind that doesn't need flowers or guests. Just you, and a little faith." She laughed through the tears that slipped down her cheeks. For the first time in years, it didn't feel forced. The sun dipped lower, painting the sky in that perfect shade of sunset Aline had memorized for her clients, only now, she saw it differently. Not as a backdrop for someone else's love story, but as the beginning of her own. "All right," she said at last, taking his hand. "Let's plan something real." And somewhere between the scent of grapes and the sound of laughter carried by the wind, Aline Carter, the woman who didn't believe in miracles, finally found hers.